The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Council's deep space station like angry metal birds. Commander Zefkari dropped his morning drink and ran to the control room. His blue skin turned pale as he looked at the giant screen showing space. Around them, "What is that thing?" he asked the young officer at the computer. Double quote, sir. It's a human ship. A very big one. Our computers say it's 12 kilometers long, the officer said. Her voice shook a little. It just appeared near the Kepler 442 system. Zefkari had seen many ships in his 40 years with the Council Navy, but nothing like this. The human ship looked like a floating city made of metal and lights. It was so big that 3 of his own ships could fit inside it. Are they talking? To us? He asked. No, sir. They won't answer any of our calls. The ship is just floating there, not moving. This was bad. Very bad. The Kepler 442 system had a special moon called Verdania Prime. On that moon lived the crystalline singers. They were the last of their kind in the whole galaxy. These strange beings looked like living crystals and could sing songs that healed dying planets. But they were very weak and scared easily. Zefkari had studied the singers in school. Long ago, their songs had saved dozens of worlds from death. They could make dead soil grow food again and clean poisoned air. But now only a few hundred were left. If anything scared them too much, they might stop singing forever. Then their amazing gift would be lost. Get me Admiral Thesara on the communication line, Zefkari ordered. The screen flickered and showed an old woman with green skin and 4 arms. Admiral Thesara was the head of the Council's protection forces. She looked tired and worried. Zefkari, I see you found the human ship too, she said. We have been watching it for 2 hours. It's moving toward Verdania Prime very slowly. What do the humans want? Zefkari asked. We don't know. They won't talk to us. But look at this. The Admiral sent in some pictures. Our long distance. Cameras show the ship opening big doors on its bottom. Zefkari looked at the pictures. The human ship had opened huge metal doors. Inside, he could see thousands of small round objects. Are those weapons? He asked. We think so. The humans might be planning to attack Verdania Prime. Or maybe they want to take things from the moon. You know how humans are. They always want more land and more resources. Zefkari nodded sadly. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only joined the Council 20 years ago. In that short time, they had caused many problems. They fought wars over small planets. They dug up moons to get metals. They never seemed happy with what they had. Sir, the young officer called out. The human ship is launching those round objects. Hundreds of them are flying toward Verdania Prime. How long until they reach the moon? Zefkari asked. 6 hours. Sir, Admiral Thesara spoke again. Zefkari, I'm sending you 5 more ships. You need to stop those humans before they hurt the crystalline singers. If the singers die, we lose the only healers left in the galaxy. Yes, Admiral. But what? If the humans fight back? Their ship is much bigger than ours. Then we call for help from other Council fleets. But we must protect the singers. That is our most important job. The communication ended. Zefkari looked out the big window of his ship. Far away, he could see the human supercarrier floating. In space, like a sleeping giant. It was so big that it blocked out some of the stars behind it. Officer Kelshan, he called to the young woman at the computer. Send a message to all Council ships in this area. Tell them we have an emergency. Yes, sir. What should I say? Tell them humans are attacking Verdania Prime. We need all available ships to come here now. As Officer Kelshan sent the message, Zefkari thought about the crystalline singers. He had visited them once, many years ago. They were beautiful creatures that looked like walking gemstones. Their songs sounded like wind chimes mixed with whale calls. When they sang together, the air itself seemed to dance. The singers lived in crystal caves on Verdania Prime. They were very shy and only came out at night. They ate sunlight and drank morning dew. Most importantly, they were peaceful. They had never hurt anyone in their long history. "Sir, we're getting reports from other council ships," Officer Kelshawn said. "3 fleets are changing course to come here. They will arrive in 8 hours. Good. What about the human objects flying to the moon? They're still moving toward Verdania Prime. Our computers can't tell what's inside them." Zefkari walked to the weapon control station. "Charge our energy cannons. If those human objects try to land on the moon, we'll shoot them down." "Sir," another officer said, "should we try to talk to the humans one more time?" "Yes, do it. But I don't think they will answer." The officer sent a message to the human ship. "Human vessel, this is the Galactic Council ship Bright Star. Please respond. You are approaching a protected world. Please explain your intentions." They waited. Number. Answer came. "Try again," Zefkari said. "Human ship Indomitable. Please respond. The moon you are approaching is home to an endangered species. Any attack on them will be considered a crime against the galaxy." Still no answer. Zefkari felt anger growing in his chest. Why wouldn't the humans talk? What were they planning? He had read reports about human behavior. They were known for being unpredictable and violent. Some council members called them the chaos species because they never did what others expected. "Sir," Officer Kelshawn said quietly, "what if we're wrong? What if the humans aren't attacking? Then why won't they talk to us?" Zefkari asked. "And why are they sending so many objects to the moon?" "No, officer. I think they are planning something terrible." Time passed slowly. The human objects kept flying toward Verdania Prime. More council ships arrived and formed a line between the human supercarrier and the moon. Zefkari now had 12 ships under his command, but the human ship was still much larger than all of them put together. "Sir, the first human objects will reach the moon in 1 hour," Officer Kelshawn reported. "Are the crystalline singers still safe in their caves?" "Yes, sir. Our sensors show they haven't come out. But they might be scared by all the ship activity." Zefkari made a difficult decision. Send one more message to the humans. Tell them they have 30 minutes to explain what they're doing, or we will open fire. The message was sent. The human ship remained silent. As the minutes passed, Zefkari prepared for the worst. He had never fought humans before, but he had heard stories. They were dangerous when cornered and fought with surprising creativity. This could be the start of a war between humans and the rest of the galaxy. He looked at the peaceful moon of Verdania Prime on his screen. Soon, the first human objects would land there. Whatever the humans were planning, it would begin very soon. "All ships, prepare for battle," he said into his communication device. "We will protect the crystalline singers, no matter what it costs us." The first human objects hit the atmosphere of Verdania Prime like falling stars. Commander Zefkari watched the screen with growing fear as dozens of bright lights streaked across the moon's sky. "All ships, lock weapons on those objects," he ordered. "If they try to land near the crystalline singer caves, shoot them down." Officer Kelshawn looked nervous at her computer station. "Sir, the objects are changing direction. They're not going to the caves. Where are they going then?" "To the big flat area on the other side of the moon, the place where nothing grows." Zefkari frowned. That was strange. The flat area was far from where the singers lived. It was just empty rock and dust. Why would humans want to attack an empty place? "Keep watching them," he said, "and try to contact the human ship again." More council ships were arriving every hour. Admiral Thesara had sent word to fleets across 3 sectors. Everyone was scared about what the humans might do. The galaxy had never seen a human ship this big before. "Sir?" Officer Kelshin called. "Out. I'm getting some strange readings from the human objects that landed." "What kind of readings?" "The objects are opening up. And sir, this doesn't make sense. The computer says they're putting up some kind of structures." "Weapons platforms?" Sefkari asked. "I don't know, sir. The structures are very big, but they don't look like weapons. They look more like ... buildings?" On the screen, Zefkari could see tiny dots moving around on the moon's surface. The human objects had indeed opened up like metal flowers. Inside, each one, small figures were working quickly to build something. "Get me a closer look," he ordered. The camera zoomed in on the moon's surface. Sefkari's mouth fell open. The humans weren't building weapons or mining equipment. They were building what looked like a huge platform, with tall metal poles sticking up from it. "Sir," another officer said, "we're picking up human radio signals from the moon." "What are they saying?" "The universal translator is having trouble. It keeps giving us words like stage setup and sound check and seating arrangement." "That makes no sense," Zefkari said. "Are you sure the translator is working right?" "Yes, sir. But these words don't fit with any military operation I know about." More human objects were landing on the moon. Each one opened up and started building more structures. The humans were working very fast, like they had done this many times before. Admiral Thesara called on the communication screen. She looked, more worried than before. "Sefkari, what's happening down there? My sensors show a lot of human activity, but I can't understand what they're building." "Neither can I, Admiral. It doesn't look like weapons, but it could be some new kind of technology we've never seen before." "The Council is very scared," the Admiral said. "Representatives from 50 different species are demanding that we stop the humans immediately. They think this might be a new type of weapon that will hurt the crystalline singers." "Should I attack the human landing sites?" "Not yet, but get ready. If those humans do anything that might hurt the singers, destroy everything on that moon." The communication ended. Zefkari looked back at the moon. More and more human objects were landing. The flat area was becoming crowded with strange structures. "Sir," Officer Kelshon said quietly, "I've been listening to more human radio signals. I keep hearing the word concert over and over." "Concert? What does that mean?" "The computer says it's a human word for when musicians play music for other people to listen to." Zefkari laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Music? They brought the biggest warship in human history to play music? That's impossible." But as he watched the moon, he started to see more strange things. The structures the humans were building had big flat areas that looked like platforms. Around these platforms, they were setting up rows and rows of what looked like chairs. "Officer Kelshon, how many human objects have landed so far?" "Over 3,000, sir. And more are coming." 3,000? How many humans could that be? If each object carried 50 humans, that would be 150,000 people, sir. The number was shocking. Why would humans bring so many people to attack one small moon? It would be like using a hammer to kill a fly. "Sir," another officer called out, "the human supercarrier is moving again." On the screen, the massive human ship was slowly turning. Its huge bulk blocked out a section of stars as it moved. "Is it leaving?" Zefkari asked hopefully. "No, sir. It's positioning itself above the moon, like it wants to watch what happens on the surface." Hours passed. The humans kept building their strange structures on Verdania Prime. They worked through the moon's day and night without stopping. Council ships watched from a safe distance, ready to attack if needed. More council fleets arrived. Soon there were 30 ships surrounding the moon. It was the largest council military force assembled in 20 years. All because of one human ship and some strange building project. "Sir," Officer Kelshan said, "I'm getting new radio signals." From the humans. Different words this time. "What are they saying?" "Acoustic calibration and audience preparation, and the biggest show ever." "Sir." The translator also picked up something about 50,000 musicians. 50,000 what? "Musicians, sir. Humans who make music." Zefkari sat down heavily. In his chair, nothing about this made sense. Why would humans bring 50,000 music makers to a moon with endangered crystal creatures? "Get me Dr. Yelandra from the Council Science Station," he ordered. The screen showed an elderly woman with purple skin and very large eyes. Dr. Yelandra was the galaxy's expert on human behavior. "Doctor, we have a situation," Zefkari explained. What was happening? Dr. Yelandra listened carefully. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Commander," she finally said, "humans are very strange. They don't think like other species. Sometimes they do things that seem crazy, but actually make sense in a human way. What do you think they're planning?" "I don't know. But the words you mentioned, concert, musicians, acoustic calibration, these are all related to human music making. Activities. Maybe they really did bring musicians. But why? What would musicians do on Vergania Prime? I have no idea. Humans often surprise us. But Commander, be very careful. If this is some kind of new weapon disguised as music, it could be very dangerous." The communication ended. Zefkari looked out at the moon again. The human building. Project was almost finished. The flat area now looked like a giant outdoor theater with thousands of seats facing a huge platform. "Sir," Officer Kelshan said urgently, "something's happening on the human ship." New objects were launching from the Supercarrier, but these were different from the others. They were smaller and moved in neat formations. "Those look like transport ships," an officer said. "The kind humans use to move people, not cargo." "How many people could those ships carry?" "Each ship could hold about 1,000 humans, sir, and there are 50 of them." Zefkari did the math. In his head, 50,000 humans. The same number Dr. Yelendra had mentioned for musicians. "All ships, prepare for combat," he announced to the Council fleet. "Whatever the humans are planning, it's about to begin." The transport ships flew toward the moon in perfect formation. Soon they would land, and 50,000 humans would be on the surface of Verdania Prime. Zefkari had never felt so nervous in his life, in the crystal caves far below. The crystalline singers huddled together in fear. They could sense all the activity above their home. Their soft songs became worried whispers. They didn't know that their whole world was about to change forever. The first human transport ship touched down on Vergania Prime with a soft thud. Commander Zefkari watched his screen as the ship's doors opened. He expected to see soldiers with weapons marching out. Instead, he saw something that made him question his own eyes. Humans were coming out of the ship carrying musical instruments. "Officer Kelshan," he said slowly, "what am I looking at?" The young officer stared at her computer readings. "Sir, the sensors show the humans are carrying violins, trumpets, drums, and—" "Flutes? Flutes? Are you sure?" "Yes, sir." "And the computer identifies many other musical instruments I've never heard of. Things called cellos and harps, and something called a tuba." More transport ships were landing. From each one, hundreds of humans emerged carrying cases and bags. They all wore matching black and white clothes. Instead of running like soldiers, they walked calmly to the giant platform that had been built on the moon's surface. "This has to be a trick," Zefkari said. "No one brings 50,000 musicians to attack a planet." But as he watched, the humans began setting up their instruments on the platform. They arranged chairs in neat rows and started tuning their instruments. The sounds that came from the moon were not weapon fire or explosions. They were musical notes. "Sir," Officer Kelshawn said in a confused voice, "one of the human ships is trying to contact us." "Put them through," Sefkari ordered. Finally, he would get answers. The communication screen flickered and showed a middle-aged human woman with short gray hair. She wore the same black and white clothes as the others, but had gold decorations on her shoulders. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earthship Indomitable," she said in clear Galactic Standard language. "I apologize for not responding to your earlier messages. We were very busy with preparations." "Captain Santos," Sefkari said, trying to sound official, "you are in violation of Galactic Council protection laws. Verdania Prime is a restricted world. You must explain your presence here immediately." Captain Santos smiled. It was a warm, friendly smile that made Sefkari even more confused. "Commander, we are here because of the Crystalline Singers," she said. "You admit you plan to attack them?" "Attack them?" Captain Santos looked shocked. "Commander, we're here to help them. We've come to give them a concert." "A what?" "A concert. A musical performance. We brought the entire Earth Philharmonic Orchestra, plus musicians from every human colony. 50,000 of the best musicians humanity has ever produced." Sefkari felt his world spinning. "You brought the biggest warship in human space to play music?" "Well, yes. The Indomitable was the only ship large enough to carry everyone and all our equipment. We also brought the largest portable concert stage ever built. But why? Why would you do this?" Captain Santos's expression became serious. "Commander, 3 months ago, our deep space listening stations picked up something unusual. We detected telepathic signals coming from this system. Very sad signals." "The Crystalline Singers," Sefkari said quietly. "Yes, our xenobiologists studied the signals for weeks. They determined that the singers were calling out in loneliness and despair. They are the last of their kind, and they're dying not from disease, but from being alone." Sefkari thought about this. He had read reports that the singers had been getting weaker over the years. Their beautiful songs that could heal planets were becoming quieter and sadder. "Our experts studied everything we could find about the Crystalline Singers," Captain Santos continued. "We learned that they are musical beings. They live for harmony and song, but they have no one left to sing with. So you brought musicians?" "We brought the largest musical gathering in human history. Musicians who play every type of music from every human world. Classical, jazz, rock, electronic, folk songs from 100 different colonies. We want to give the singers the biggest concert they have ever experienced." Officer Kelshan leaned over to Sefkari. "Sir, should I tell Admiral Desara about this?" Sefkari held up his hand. He needed to understand more. "Captain Santos, how do you know this will help the singers?" "We don't know for certain," she admitted. "But our xenobiologists think that hearing music from other species might remind the singers that they are not alone in the universe. That there are others who love music and song as much as they do. And if you're wrong, if the music scares them or hurts them." Captain Santos looked sad. "Then we will have failed, and I will spend the rest of my life regretting this decision. But, Commander, we had to try. The alternative was to let them die slowly from loneliness." On the moon's surface, the human musicians were almost finished setting up. The platform was now covered with chairs, music stands, and instruments of every shape and size. Humans were testing microphones and adjusting huge speakers that had been positioned around the platform. "How did you even know about the singers?" Sefkari asked. "The Council doesn't share information about protected species with other governments." We have our own deep space monitoring programs, Captain Santos said. When we heard their telepathic cries for companionship, we couldn't ignore them. It took us 2 months to organize this concert, and another month to travel here. You spent 3 months planning a concert for aliens you've never met? Commander, music is universal. Every species we've ever encountered has some form of music. It connects us all, even when we can't speak the same language. Admiral Desara's voice suddenly came through the communication system. All council. Ships, this is Admiral Desara. Prepare to attack the human positions immediately. Admiral, wait, Zefkari called out. Captain Santos, stay on the line. He switched to the Admiral's private channel. Admiral, I need to explain what's happening here. Explain what? The humans are setting up some kind of massive installation on the protected moon. We have to stop them before they hurt the singers. Admiral, they're not soldiers. They're musicians. They brought 50,000 musicians to play a concert for the crystalline singers. There was a long pause. They brought what? Musicians. People who play music. Captain Santos says they detected the singers' telepathic distress calls and want to help them feel less lonely. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. No species brings a supercarrier full of musicians to another world. Admiral, what if they're telling the truth? What if humans really are this strange? Another pause. Zefkari, even if this is true, we can't allow it. The singers are extremely fragile. Loud music could frighten them to death. Zefkari switched back to Captain Santos. Captain, the Admiral is concerned that your music might be too loud or frightening for the singers. We thought of that, Captain Santos said. We brought acoustic scientists and xenobiologists. We've studied the singers' hearing range and emotional responses. We're going to start very quietly with simple, gentle melodies. If the singers show any signs of distress, we'll stop immediately. And if they like the music, Captain Santos smiled again. Then we'll give them the most beautiful concert this galaxy has ever heard. On the moon, the musicians were taking their places. 50,000 humans sat quietly with their instruments, waiting for their conductor to give the signal to begin. Sir, Officer Kelshawn whispered, sensors show the crystalline singers are moving in their caves. They seem to be listening to what's happening above. Zefkari made the hardest decision of his military career. Admiral Desara, I request permission to let the humans proceed with their concert. Absolutely not. Admiral, if we attack now, we might drive the singers deeper into their caves. But if the humans are right, this could save them. And if the humans are wrong, then we stop the concert and arrest everyone. But Admiral, what if this is the miracle the singers have been waiting for? The communication was quiet for a long moment. Then Admiral Desara spoke again. You have 1 hour, Zefkari. If anything goes wrong, destroy every human installation on that moon. Thank you, Admiral. Captain Santos had been listening. Commander, thank you for giving us this chance. I promise you won't regret it. On the surface of Verdania Prime, a human conductor raised her hands. 50,000 musicians prepared their instruments. In the crystal caves below, the crystalline, singers sensed something new was about to happen. The galaxy was about to witness something unprecedented. The human conductor raised her hands high above her head. 50,000 musicians sat perfectly still on the platform built on Verdania Prime's surface. Commander Zefkari held his breath as he watched from his ship. In caves far below the surface, the crystalline singers waited in the darkness. The conductor's hands came down slowly. A soft, gentle sound began to rise from the platform. It started with just a few violins playing a simple melody. The music was so quiet that Zefkari had to turn up his speakers to hear it. Officer Kelshawn, he whispered, what are the singers doing? The young officer checked her sensors. Sir, they're not moving. but their bio readings show they're listening. The violin melody was joined by flutes, then by gentle drums that sounded like a heartbeat. The music was beautiful and peaceful. It reminded Zefkari of wind moving through trees or water flowing over rocks. "Sir," Officer Kelshawn said with excitement in her voice, "something is happening in the caves." On the sensor display, dots of light were moving in the underground tunnels. The crystalline singers were leaving their deep hiding places and moving toward the surface. "Are they running away?" Zefkari asked. "No, sir. They're moving toward the music." Captain Santos appeared on the communication screen again. "Commander, can you see what's happening in the caves?" "Yes, the singers are moving." "But Captain, if they get scared, my orders are to stop this immediately." "I understand, but look at their bio readings. Are they showing signs of fear?" Zefkari looked at the medical sensors that monitored the singers' health. "No. They seem calm, maybe even curious." On the platform, more instruments joined the music. Cellos added deep, warm notes that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. Harps played delicate melodies that sparkled like stars. The 50,000 musicians played together like they were one giant instrument. Then something amazing happened. A soft light began to glow from the cave entrances. The crystalline singers were coming to the surface for the first time in many years. "Sir," Officer Kelshawn said in wonder, "they're beautiful." The singers looked like living gemstones that walked on two legs. Their bodies were made of crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows in every direction. Some were tall and thin like ice sculptures. Others were round and sparkled like diamonds. Each one was different, but all of them glowed with their own inner light. The first singer reached the surface and stopped at the edge of the cave entrance. It tilted its head like it was listening very carefully to the human music. Then it did something that made everyone watching gasp in surprise. It began to sing. The singer's voice was unlike anything in the galaxy. It sounded like crystal bells mixed with whale songs and wind chimes. The note it sang was perfect harmony with the human violins. "Commander," Captain Santos said softly, "it's working." More singers came out of the caves. Each one added their voice to the growing song. The human musicians heard the crystal voices and began to adjust their playing to match the new harmonies. "Sir," Officer Kelshawn said, "I'm getting readings I've never seen before. The whole moon is starting to change." She was right. On the surface around the caves, dead plants were turning green again. Dry streams began to flow with clean water. The air itself seemed cleaner and fresher. "The singer's music heals the land," Zefkari said in amazement. "But they haven't sung this strongly in decades." More and more singers emerged from the caves. Soon there were hundreds of them, all glowing like living stars. Their songs mixed with the human music to create something completely new. It was beautiful and strange and wonderful all at the same time. Admiral Visara called on the emergency channel. "Zefkari, what's happening?" "Our sensors are showing massive energy readings from the moon." "Admiral, the singers are healing." "Verdania Prime, the human music is making them stronger than they've been years." "That's impossible." "Admiral, you need to see this for yourself." Zefkari sent video from his cameras to Admiral Visara's ship. He watched her face change from anger to confusion to complete amazement. "By the stars," she whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." The music was getting louder now, but not in a harsh way. The human conductor was slowly adding more instruments. Trumpets joined in with bright, happy notes. Drums kept time like a giant heartbeat. Keyboards created sounds that seemed to come from space itself, the crystalline. Singers responded by singing even more beautifully. Their voices created harmonies that no single species could make alone. When human voices joined in, singing words in dozens of different languages, the effect was magical. "Sir," Officer Kelshon called out. "We're getting communications from other ships. What are they saying?" "Ships from across the system are asking about the music. They can hear it even in space. Some captains are asking permission to come closer and listen." This was true. The combined music of humans and crystalline singers was so powerful that it traveled through space itself. Ships that were light years away could pick up the songs on their communication equipment. "Admiral," Sefkari said, "should we allow other ships to approach?" Admiral Thesara was quiet for a moment. "Yes, but tell them to keep their distance. And absolutely no weapons." Within hours, ships from dozens of different species were arriving in the Kepler 442 system. Everyone wanted to hear the amazing concert taking place on Verdania Prime. The music continued to grow stronger. The human orchestra played songs from Earth's classical period, mixed with jazz from the Mars colonies and electronic music from the outer settlements. The crystalline singers learned each style quickly and added their own crystal harmonies. "Sir," Officer Kelshon said, "the planet's ecosystem is changing faster than our computers can measure. Dead areas that have been empty for hundreds of years are coming back to life." On the surface, the changes were incredible. Forests were growing in minutes instead of years. Rivers that had been dry for decades were flowing again. The air was becoming so clean and pure that the humans on the platform had taken off their breathing masks. "Captain Santos," Sefkari called, "how long can your musicians play?" "We planned for a 3-day concert, Commander. We brought enough. Supplies for everyone to stay on the surface for a week if needed." 3 days? "We want to give the singers time to learn as many different types of music as possible. And we want to show them that they're not alone in the universe." As the hours passed, something even more amazing happened. Ships from other species began sending down their own musicians. A Relian transport landed, and out came a choir of beings who sang with voices like flowing water. A Zephyrian science vessel contributed a group that played crystal instruments similar to what the singers might understand. "Sir," Officer Kelshon said with joy in her voice, "this is becoming the biggest musical gathering in galactic history." The platform on Verdania Prime was expanding as more species joined the concert. Humans worked quickly to build additional stages and seating areas. The crystalline singers seemed delighted to have so many different types of music to harmonize. With Admiral Thesara contacted Sefkari again. "Commander, the Galactic Council is meeting in emergency session. They want to know what we should do about this situation." "What situation, Admiral?" "Everyone is just playing music together." "Yes, but it's completely unprecedented. We've never had anything like this happen before." Sefkari looked at his screen showing the concert. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were making music together while the crystalline singers healed their dying world with songs of joy. "Admiral," he said, "I think we should just let it happen. Something this beautiful shouldn't be stopped." The concert continued through the night and into the next day. The music never stopped, but it changed constantly as different groups took turns playing. The crystalline singers never seemed to get tired. Instead, they grew brighter and more beautiful with each passing hour. Word of the concert was spreading across the full galaxy faster than the speed of light. 3 days later, the greatest concert in galactic history was coming to an end. Commander Sefkari stood on the bridge of his ship, watching something he would remember for the rest of his life. The surface of Verdania Prime had completely changed. What had been a dying moon covered in dust and dead rock was now a green paradise. Trees reached toward the sky, flowers bloomed in every color imaginable, and crystal-clear rivers flowed between hills covered in soft grass dot in the center of it. All the crystalline singers glowed brighter than they had in centuries. They had learned hundreds of songs from dozens of different species. Their voices were stronger and more beautiful than ever before. "Sir," Officer Kelshon said, The final song is beginning. On the platform, Captain Santos raised her conductors. Stick one last time. All 50,000 human musicians prepared their instruments. Around them, musicians from 30 different species did the same. The crystalline singers formed a circle around the entire group, their crystal bodies creating a rainbow of light. The song they played together was something completely new. It combined human classical music with Relian water songs, Zephyrian crystal harmonies, and the ancient melodies of the crystalline singers themselves. When it ended, the silence that followed was more beautiful than any sound. Then something wonderful happened. The crystalline singers began to teach their songs to the other species. For the first time in their history, they were sharing the ancient melodies that could heal planets and bring life to dead worlds. Admiral Thesara appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired but happy. "Zefkari," she said, "the Galactic Council has made a decision about this situation." "What did they decide, Admiral?" "They're calling it the Verdania Accords. Every species that participated in the concert has agreed to protect the crystalline singers and help them teach their healing songs to others." That's wonderful news. But that's not all. The Council has also decided to give humanity a special honor. Captain Santos and her crew are being awarded the Medal of Galactic Unity. It's the highest honor the Council can give. Zefkari smiled. 3 days ago, he had been ready to attack the human ship. Now he was proud to call them friends. "Admiral, what will happen to the human supercarrier?" "That's the most interesting part. The humans have volunteered to convert the Indomitable into a traveling cultural ship. They want to visit other species and share music and art across the galaxy." Captain Santos appeared on another communication channel. She looked tired but very happy. "Commander Zefkari," she said, "I wanted to thank you for giving us the chance to try this crazy idea." "Captain, I have to ask you something." "How did you know this would work?" Captain Santos laughed. "Honestly, we didn't. We just hoped that music really is a universal language. We thought that if we could show the singers that other species also love music, they might feel less alone." "And you risked everything on that hope?" "Commander, have you ever heard someone crying and not wanted to help them?" The singers' telepathic calls for companionship were the saddest things we had ever heard. We couldn't just ignore them. Zefkari nodded. This was what made humans so special and so frustrating at the same time. They made decisions with their hearts instead of their heads. Sometimes this caused problems, but sometimes it created miracles. "Captain, what are your plans now?" "We're going to spend the next few weeks helping the other species learn some of the singers' healing songs. Then we'll start our cultural mission. There are so many species in the galaxy who have never heard each other's music. And the crystalline singers, they're not alone anymore. Ships from across the galaxy are already making plans to visit Verdania. Prime, the singers will have more visitors and friends than they know what to do with." As if to prove her point, another ship appeared in the system, then another. Word of the concert and the healing of Verdania Prime was spreading faster than anyone could have imagined. Officer Kelshin looked up from her computer. "Sir, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Other species are starting their own music exchange programs. The Andromedans want to share their drum ceremonies with the cetacean whale singers. The crystal miners of Beta 7 are asking to learn human blues music. Music exchange programs? Yes, sir. It seems like the whole galaxy wants to share music now. Everyone realized how beautiful it can be when different species make music together." Admiral Thesara contacted them again. "Zefkari, I have new orders for you." "Yes, Admiral?" "The Council wants you to escort the human ship on their first cultural mission. You'll be the official Council representative for the new galactic music exchange program." Zefkari felt honored. "Where will we go first?" "The Tau Ceti system." There's a species there that communicates entirely through musical tones. The humans think they might be able to create an amazing concert together. Admiral, may I ask you something personal? Of course. 3 days ago, you were ready to attack the humans. Now you're helping them start a galaxy-wide music program. What changed your mind? Admiral Asara was quiet for a moment. Sefkari, in my 40 years of military service, I've seen a lot of conflicts. Wars over territory, resources, trade routes. But I've never seen anyone use a supercarrier to make friends instead of enemies. You think the humans are crazy? I think they're the best kind of crazy. The kind that makes the galaxy a better place. On the surface of Verdania Prime, the last of the visiting musicians were packing up their instruments. But many were making plans to return. The crystalline singers had invited everyone to come back any time they wanted to make music together. Sir, Officer Kelshawn said, the human supercarrier is preparing to leave. Where are they going? To Earth, sir. Captain Santos says they need to pick up more musicians and cultural ambassadors for their next mission. Zefkari watched as the massive human ship slowly turned away from Verdania Prime. But now, instead of looking like a weapon of war, it looked like what it really was, the largest mobile concert hall in the galaxy. Officer Kelshawn, send a message to all council ships in the area. What should it say, sir? Tell them that humans used a supercarrier to save an entire species with nothing but music, and that we're proud to call them our allies. As the human ship disappeared into hyperspace, Zefkari looked back at Verdania Prime one last time. The moon glowed with new life, and the crystalline singers were still singing their beautiful songs. But now they were singing songs of joy. Instead of loneliness, the story of the Verdania concert spread across the galaxy faster than any news had ever traveled before. It became the most famous event in galactic history. Children of every species learned about the day humans brought 50,000 musicians across space, just to make some lonely aliens feel better. The humans had done something no military force had ever accomplished. They had conquered hearts. Instead of planets, they had used music instead of weapons. And they had shown the galaxy that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply care about someone else's pain. Years later, when other species met humans for the first time, they would always ask the same question. Are you the species that used a supercarrier for a concert? And the humans would always answer with a smile. Yes, and it was the best decision we ever made. The Galactic Music Exchange Program continued to grow. Soon, every species in the galaxy was sharing their music with others. Wars became rare because it's hard to fight someone whose songs you love. And deep in the crystal caves of Verdania Prime, the crystalline singers never stopped singing. But now their songs were full of hope, friendship, and the knowledge that they would never be alone again. The humans had used their biggest warship not to destroy, but to create something beautiful. And in doing so, they had changed the galaxy forever.